to watch my videos and then listen to the contents therein. Thank you so much. Relationship matters remain an issue of concern to most people. And as young men and women growing up, we try to handle situations to do with our relationships very cautiously. I have actually made videos on what to expect in a relationship with a sanguine, what to expect in a relationship with a choleric. Now, this time, this video is actually focused on what to expect when you find yourself in a relationship with a melancholic. Stay around me. I'll be right back. I thank you so much for remaining on the channel and then still being patient to watch what I'm actually about to discuss with you. Now, when you take a melancholic, the question is, who is a melancholic? How do they handle relationships? How do they get themselves fully involved in relationships? Do they really take matters concerning relationships very seriously, or they handle them just anyhow, just like any other person who would want to not focus on the long-term good of the relationship, but just the short term, right? So I would be pointing out a few things. Basically, we'll look at 7 things to expect. There are several others, but these very 7 tips or points to consider are those that are very common with every melancholic. If you know who a melancholy is, then I'm sure by the time we are done, you would have it confirmed that indeed these are true about melancholics. Now, the first thing to expect is melancholics take relationships or dating or courtship very seriously. They don't play with dating at all. Once they commit to it, it is a serious business. So there are some basic things you should expect in the dating procedure or in the dating process with a melancholic. There are certain things they will do, to make you feel appreciated. And one of them is they keep good manners. Good manners are very important in every or at every stage of our lives. They will never be late, to a meeting. So when you arrange a dating time that at 7 p.m. we are meeting, I have a date with you, you'll go, you find the melancholic sitting there waiting for you. If fortunately for you also get there before the 7 scheduled time, surely then both of you win. And also the point is melancholics are very much time abiding. Now melancholic men, will open doors for their partners. They will open. So that's how seriously they take dating. Once they get into a relationship with you, there are certain things they will never take for granted. Women will also like to cook for their men willingly. You would not actually have to force them. They will do it with all their hearts. And then they also like to offer gifts. Melancholics like to buy gifts for their partners. If you are fortunate to get into a relationship with a melancholic, that's one of the basic things they do that actually prove the point that they take dating very, very seriously. And the second thing to expect is they are detailed and factual in their conversations. So most of the times when they are talking about an issue which you may think is on a lighter note, they will take it very seriously. They will tell you every bit of what you need to know. So they want to travel. They tell you, okay, when I get there, this is what I'm going to do. I have a meeting with this particular person. These are the engagements I'll be finding myself in. That's the time I'll be leaving. That's the time upon getting there, that's the time I arrived, or this is the time I'm expecting to arrive. In fact, anything and everything they like to tell you. They like to keep dates. Birthdays, they hardly forget. So they'll take record of your birthday, at least. So when the time is up, they actually will celebrate it with you. They don't take facts for granted. They are serious with them. So expect something of the sort. When you get into a conversation with a melancholic, expect detailed conversation, not lighter conversations. Now, the third thing to also consider or expect to see in a melancholic is the hate drama. Melancholics don't like attention attracted to themselves. So most of the times, they try to shy away from events that are dramatic. They like to rather be in the company of friends. They hardly would want to do things for them to be made out or figured out to be the center of the happening. They try to be behind the scene. Even when they are the engineers of whatever might be happening, they wouldn't actually want to be seen. So they hate drama. They don't like dramatic happenings. They don't like unnecessary attention. In simple terms, they don't like so much attention given to them. The fourth thing to expect is they choose very cautiously. Melancholics choose very, very cautiously. They don't rush in their choice-making activity. They think through very carefully. So when you have something on the table, perhaps a decision to be made, and you actually want the decision to be rushed through for things to be done so fast, they will ask you to give them time. They'll think through. They will not make the decision impulsively because perhaps there is the need for that urgent decision to be made. They will still want to take their time so that the conclusion drawn, suppose there is any consequence to bear, they will admittedly accept that, yes, this is my fault because I made this wrong decision. So to avoid such consequences coming in direction, they try to make their decisions or do everything they intend to act on very, very carefully, because they will always be ready to take responsibility for whatever happens. Right. So that is one thing you should expect if you're in a relationship with a melancholic. Now, the fifth thing to expect is they plan in advance. Melancholics don't just do things unpreparedly. So, suppose there is a program which you actually want to feature a melancholic on. You must have to inform the melancholic ahead of time, far ahead of time. So perhaps if the program is taking place in a week's time, you should tell the person possibly 1 week earlier, 1 week earlier for them to do thorough preparation, do advanced arrangements, just to make them feel prepared so that on the day of performance, they would actually deliver to their best. So they dislike or they actually wouldn't want to just do things impromptu. They like to plan in advance. If it's a travel, they plan in advance. If it is whatever it is, they would actually be involved in. They must have to be informed far ahead of time. If you don't do that, and you just come today wanting whatever it is you told the melancholic right away to be done, right here and now, expect a response that will make you, well, possibly unhappy. So know the melancholic. If you are in a relationship with a melancholic, expect something of the sort. Now, one other thing is the set point is they respect and stick to tradition. Melancholics respect tradition. This is how it's supposed to be done. Let's do this way. That's what I was taught by my parents. So I suppose that we go about it this way. You get to a family ground where ideally greetings are offered. They would want to perform all those things. You see, traditionally, we all know that before you eat or just after doing something which makes your hands come dirty, you must have to wash your hands. That is the tradition. They will comply with it. When you visit a place of convenience, you go to ease yourself. There are some who even forget to wash their hands. The melancholic will remember and perform the tradition. There are several. So anything that forms part of them which becomes a habit, they treat it as a tradition and ensure that they stick to it. They never will stay away from it or part ways with it. So they are very traditional. Melancholics are traditional. What they know which becomes part of them becomes a tradition. So if you find yourself with a melancholic and you realize that almost every time what they like to do is what they would want you to be involved in with them, know that is their nature. So let me just say that melancholics like to keep routines. They like to keep routines. They wouldn't want to break that routine. So it makes them very traditional. And then the very last, which is the seventh, that is very, very important. You should not underrate as far as your relationship with a melancholic is concerned, as they connect very well with a fellow melancholic. Truth is, melancholics are misunderstood because of how they are. So they appear to be very boring at certain times. They appear to be misconstrued at certain moments to do with how they go about doing these things. So when they find themselves in a relationship with another or a fellow melancholic, they tally, they match very, very excellently. They actually are able to cope with each other. So a melancholic would actually be found to be very easy to cope with when their recessive temperament take a particular center stage. So if you have a melancholic phlegmatic, and there is also a sanguine melancholic, they can match. They make very perfect partners. But when you have a choleric sanguine in a relationship with a melancholic phlegmatic or a melancholic sanguine, they would always have issues because the cholerics by nature are very authoritative. And the melancholic wouldn't want that because they like things to be done in a certain manner. So at every given time, you'll find them on each other, so at each other's neck, because they will not easily arrive at particular decisions both of them would actually want to get to. So in simple terms, what I'm just simply trying to say is melancholics connect well with their fellow melancholics. They form very, very good partners in a relationship. Right, so to this end, these are some of the things you should expect when you find yourself dating a melancholic. I believe this video will help you. If you are not a melancholic watching me, or possibly you don't find yourself in a relationship with a melancholic, I will advise that you take note of these things I've actually shared with you, and then possibly share the content with others who may need them. so that by that they will actually learn what they need to be aware of for their education. I thank you so much for making time with me up to this point, and I really appreciate the support for the channel again. As I said earlier, God richly bless you. And as I always say, if you have not subscribed, please support the channel by subscribing, and then throw away negative attitude. Keep a positive attitude because that makes your life better. I wish you well.